Hello class, today we are going to continue with our image series. This would be like series 5, continuation about styling of images. We are going to look at how you can create, say, an image slider, whether it has text or not. We can see how you can create the fading text over the image. Over images, you can look at the how you can wrap text around an image. We shall cover different designs and styles under that, and any other topics that we shall deem fit to cover, like gradients and stuff like that. So let us begin. We could have maybe say an ID, and we make this as slider. Then we can use what the standard is to put them in a figure, and that is majorly what we shall use. We can now create our images. Choose images, then we can look for our images. I would want to make sure we have got proper images that we are going to use. One of the tricks I would also encourage you to understand with this is that you need to have images of the same resolution. That is going to help you any hassles. For example, like this, I will show you other images that they are of the same resolution. By resolution, I mean they have the same number of pixels, both the width and the height. When I come to the properties of this image in Windows, you would be able to see them here quickly. This is a different operating system. So you can see this is 1920 by 1200. That is some serious resolution of the image. The same applies to all the images I'm going to use. I made sure they are all of the same resolution, either by cropping to make sure I get the same resolution or number of pixels, width and height as the same. The same applies to such an image. For example, all these are having the same height and width. So now that we have been able to look at that, we can begin our session with inserting those images. I would want maybe, okay, we can then say images, maybe image 8, then we could have images, can pick image 9, then we have image. We can now pick style 2. Then one of the tricks I use is that I repeat the same image to make sure that the loop continues. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 different images, and then the fifth one to help me loop back. This is not compulsory, but me, that is what I use. There are other ways, as you will find out if you keep digging deep. For example, in this tutorial, we won't be creating the slider with those dots. If you want, you can create one with them. If you want, you can create one without them. We also want to be creating one with the say arrows or icons pointing left and right. So those are the omissions I have created. Not that we wouldn't create them, but I just wanted to show you something different. So we can begin. The fact that we finished what we call positioning, you will realize that most of these we use position to make sure they are in places where we want them. So for example, we have that. We can say maybe the height of this container. Remember, the slider is the main container, could be say 500 pixels. Then we can say the width is 800 pixels. Okay, then we can say margin auto to put them at the center, to put the slider at the center automatically. Then we can say overflow hidden. Why are we using overflow hidden? Because we know these images are going to be forced to sit into this slider, and they will overflow because they are bigger, their width is much more compared to what we have set. So to avoid that, then we use overflow hidden, and we had a full topic about this. You can just look at how things are. You can see them here. Okay, we are scrolling, so you can see what is happening. Then we also have these other images. So that is what we have now. Overflow hidden. You can now see that we have a single image, or others are inside this container. So now that is your overflow hidden. That's what it does. There is an overflow. If we say to scroll, then the scroll bar will come, but that's not what we want. So we say overflow hidden, we say whatever is overflowing, hide it. As simple as that. So next is that we have a slider, then we have figure. Remember, after a slider there is figure that holds all our images. So that is what we are targeting. And we could also set this to position relative, and then we say that width here is another trick, 500%. What does this mean? Every image is occupying 100% of the slide section. So it means we have a total of 500% width. Those are 5 images. 5 by 100 creates 500% of those images. That is very, very important to understand. So if we are sliding 4 images, then we would say 400. If we are sliding 3, then we would have said 300, 3 times or 100 times the number of images in the slider. So we are saying margin is 0. We want to remove all margins. We are also saying left for the start should be 0. So remember we set position relative, and it also has got the top, left, and stuff like that. We covered this. Now, so if we want them to, so this is where we are now, still at the same stage. If we want them to slide, then we must use animation, and we are saying that the total animation should be lasting 20 seconds, and then it loops again. What are we targeting? We are targeting the slider. That's where the location is, and the option we are using is infinite. Let it loop forever. That's what we are trying to say. Now this is no longer necessary because we have already positioned this to relative, and we can deal with that. Now can say slider figure image. So we are targeting the image. We are floating these images to the left. I've already covered float also. Floating these images to the left, still at the same station. But also we are saying, for example, can come here and look at our images. We are waiting for other commands to start moving. We are saying that the width of each image is 20%. Now, each image is 100%. Because we are setting our total width of the slider. Remember, we have a slider at 800. Whether it is 800, then it means its full width is 100%. Okay, those are the calculations now. Its full width is 100%. Okay, so 800 pixels of its width. When they say what is the full width in percentages, it would be 100%. So we are saying that is why we're having that the width of the figure, where the figure is what is holding our images, and the slider is holding everything. If we had text and all that stuff, all would be in a slider. So we are saying that this figure, its width is 500 pixels, rather 500%. Why? Because each image is 100%. So the figure is representing each image, and each image is 100%. Then here we are saying that let the width of the image be 20%, because we want them to occupy the same 100% of the slider. So after this, we can come and say at keyframes, then what? Slider, because that's where our images are contained. So we are saying that 0%. Now we are deeper into understanding these things. We are no longer the other side of Simanyi combinator selector or stuff like that. We have grown. That is why we are able to come to these things. We are saying that the start is at 0. Okay, this is measured to make sure that it stays at that point when at 0%. I'm going to explain to you. Then we are also saying that at 20%, it should also stay at 0. I'm going to tell you what 20% represents. Then at 25%, remember we said float left, then we should move negative 100%. I've already shown you, we looked at what 100 means. If we set these properties of relative and absolute, negative pushes it to the opposite side. So if it is here and we are saying negative 100, left negative 100, then it is pushing it outside. So it would be pushing it inside the slider or inside the browser if the slider was occupying the whole browser space. Whereas if it was positive, then it would be pushing it this side. It means if you want your items, their elements to rotate going to the right, you make these positive. So we come here and say at 45%, it should still be at 100. I I will show you what that does. We are going to edit these figures such that you understand why this is selected like this. So now this makes sure that our image stays. This at 20% it is staying, at 25 it is still moving, then at 45 the first image completes its movement, and we are able to get the second image. The second image we are setting that let it start at 50%, and now this will be -200 because we are picking the second image. Remember, we have up to 500. Then the second image still at 75 or 70. This picks the second image. This makes sure that the second image stays and we can be able to see it. This is not a big difference. I will explain to you say mathematically. So this can be now that at 75 move -300, picking the third picture. Then this we can jump maybe now to 95, and I think at 95 stay at the second. Then this will pick our third picture. Third and fourth picture will come in. This is we are saying that at 100%, then this should be 400. So the 400 would pick our fourth picture. Remember, the last one, which would be the fifth, is just to create the loop because it is the same image as the first image, so that you would be looking at that first image. Otherwise, when we remove it, then it completes and cannot loop, mainly using this method. There are other methods, but I found this simpler for you to begin with. Now, we are saying that what is 20%? We set the animation, the total animation, to last for 20 seconds. If you get a timer, you would be able to understand how this whole animation works. We are saying the timer, the full animation should last for 20 seconds. Then repeat the animation, and what that essentially does is that at 0% of 20 seconds, 20% of 20 seconds, so 20 out of 100 divided by 20. Let me see. So just the basic mode here, we are saying that 20 divided by 100, then times 20 seconds. So it would be picking those seconds. We are saying also that the 25, which would be 25 divided by 100, is 0.25 times 20, 5 seconds. So you can see the difference is just 1 second. It would be, this would be the seconds covered of the 20 seconds. Now when we say that 25 and 45 divided by 100 times 20, so that is at 9 seconds. Now we will go on and on. That is why I told you the difference is not huge. Now It means when you say 100 here, you would have covered the 20 seconds. 100 over 100 is 1 times 20, you remain with your 20 seconds. So at 75 here, where we are picking the third image, here where now we are picking the fourth image, we don't need to repeat this because, so we pick the image stays, we are saying this at 0 seconds, the second start counting, this is 4 seconds. We are still at the same image. This is the 5th second, the image starts moving. This is the 9th, at 45 I think was 9, yes. This is the 9th second. We are able to start viewing the second image. This brings in the second image. Now, let me show you that 50, if this is 50 divided by 100, you will see it is not very firm, times 20, this is 10, so 10 and 9, that's a very quick interval, or a very small interval. That's why you almost don't see what takes place. Now at 50, we are saying let it stay. Now we bring in the second image and it stays up to 70%. What is 70%? 70 divided by 100, okay, times 20. So it means that the 14th second, that is when we see the second image leaving, and just 75, the difference of probably 1 second, 75 times 100, 75 times 20 divided by 100, so that is 15. So a difference of 1 second, then the third image comes in and stays up to 95, then at the 95, so it means 95, or we can say 0.95 times 20, so it means at 19 we see our third image, and then the fourth comes in at 100%. So as you can see, our slider is now working. We can even choose to set a timer that would count for us, and then we hear it in the background. Once we see the first photo, it's about to come, then we set that timer. That is our first photo. I was slow at setting that. I will wait for another chance. Then we set our timer. You will realize that the images just take 20 seconds like we said. So that is our first image. We start the clock, and we shall be able to get its feedback in the background. You can also choose the same thing when you finish designing yours, set the background, and then you will be able to understand that. So I'm sure you are able to realize that the settings you set as 20 seconds, then you were dividing these by 20. So these percentages represent the whole amount of 20 seconds you set here. If you set 10, that is what would happen. They would be quick, but this arrangement would still give you the same results. Now, another small thing I wanted to add here, you might wonder that sometimes, you might realize that sometimes these sliders have got images, for example. How then would you do that? Let us try that. So we can maybe put this, we're going to try just on one image for you to be able to realize that you can do it on all other images and this will affect nothing. So we can just put our image like this in this class. By now you should know why we are doing this. You might want to make this, for example, the image and the word to be a link, HTTPS. You can say www dot, you can route it to where maybe we can say dot, say google.com. Okay, so then we make sure, remember our div is not covered, our div is not closed. Okay, so this is where we would put the text that represents what the user is going to click on, or the text that is going to be on our image. We can just put it in a span tag because we would want to edit it properly. So we can say maybe join us or apply. You know, you will usually see these things, or any information. This represents many things we can do. So now when you go back to our slider, you realize that we have our apply there on top, and it usually comes together with the very first image. As the first image is leaving the scene, then we shall see that word appearing on top, as you can see. So let us work on that to make sure it stays where we want it to stay. So it means we could do maybe put it here just before we start sliding these things. You can say slider, now go to the figure, pick the class called image text, and then the span tag. That is the whole line. We are using all of these to increase their specificity levels. You can see it here, such that no doubt that is what is going to be picked. So position, begin with that, absolute. Remember the slider, all these are contained in the figure. The figure we set to position relative, and we said for us to use absolute we need the parent container to be position relative. So we can set top, what, 10 pixels from the top, left, we want it maybe at the left, also 10 pixels from the left. We could say that color, may be white. Okay, color could be white. Then you can limit the width and stuff like that. For example, you can say background, let us give it a background maybe of green, and you see. So when we come back, you see it there. So we can wait and probably you see it properly. So it means we could position it somewhere else. It's about to approach. There it is. So we could now maybe choose to say that its height is about 30 pixels, the line height is also 30 pixels, and then we can say text dash align center. Then we go back, go back to see how our thing is now. Center, you can see how big it is. With this, maybe 50 pixels. How big is 50 pixels? And we could say with this 100 pixels, such that you create something bigger. You see it now. Then if that is the case, we can say border dash radius of 5 pixels. If that is the case, we say box shadow, maybe 2 pixels, 5 for the bra, maybe dark red, if that would be the color you want. You can see it there. Can even reduce on the number of pixels, no problem. But then we could say top 100. Come back, you see its position. I'm trying to tell you that you can position this. Start using things like using things like top 50%, left 50%. Then you say, for example, let's try that out. Top 50%, left 50%, transform, translate, negative 50%. Let us try this and we see 50%. That one is pushing it far away. We could use other means. See, those were several positions where this element could sit. I could put it in the sides, for example, by just maybe saying 130 pixels, and then here coming and say just on the left it could just occupy 30 pixels from the left. But all these are parameters you can use to get what you want. So this is where we are at 130 pixels. If we had set the whole height of the container or the whole height of the image, then we would be able to use the line height and it would quickly go with the image. Otherwise, we would have to keep doing this to exactly get a certain level of what we want. So otherwise, you could use percentages. Many things you could do over, so you can do this to all these other images, and you would be able to move along and achieve what you want. Okay, there it is. So when you hover over it, you see it is saying www.google.com here at the bottom left corner, and this is our image slider. Thank you. We meet in other tutorials later.